Hello again and welcome to Aasai Rasai. I'm making marshmallows today. It's a very old recipe. I have uploaded this video before, but it was in captions, and this time I'm going to explain to you all the little details on how to get this right. And if you're a beginner, keep watching. First, prepare a tray by applying oil very lightly, or place a sheet of wax paper like this and sprinkle some cornstarch. And sometimes we call it corn flour as well, depending on where you're from. And before you turn on the heat, first place the sugar and water in the pan and then turn on the heat. That way it won't caramelize the sugar. And then you can turn the heat to medium setting. If you feel like that's going too fast for you, you can do medium low and stir constantly until all the sugar has melted. But don't try to do it too fast. Now before this starts to boil, dissolve the gelatin. So let's go back and dissolve the gelatin. All right, so I have boiling hot water here, and using the whisk I poured in the gelatin and broke up all the little clumps that form on it, because otherwise it will get into the marshmallow and you will have pieces of lumpy gelatin in the marshmallow. So just while you're pouring it gradually into the water, you just keep mixing it, whisking it rather, like this, very vigorously, and then you'll have a smooth mixture at the end of it. Now this is going to go into the sugar syrup, so I wanted it to be hot. If it cools too quickly, then it's going to set, and I didn't want that to happen. So in case you're wondering, agar-agar does not work for this recipe. So now this is ready. Just give it a rest for about a minute until we get back to the sugar and check how we're doing there. Now you can see the sugar is starting to boil, and that's fine. What we need to do is to make sure that all the sugar crystals have completely melted and dissolved. And you could just check by pouring it like that and just observe the spoon. Now we can add the gelatin mixture. If you feel you need to stay in control of the heat, you could always reduce the heat to medium-low. Now within about 2 minutes from now, the gelatin will start to activate and you will see what will happen. So keep stirring. It's going to start boiling again. Now when this is good and ready, the last drops should cling to the spoon when it's poured like that. So it's not quite ready yet, and you can see the mixture is beginning to come to a rolling boil again. And if you notice, there is that last drop that's kind of clinging and setting at the end of the spoon, rather the edge of the spoon. So now this is ready. We can turn off the heat. Keep this pot away from the hot stove because the mixture tends to boil over. You can see it rising. So once you turn off the heat, just keep stirring for a few seconds longer and then it'll settle. Now we got to do this while the mixture is still hot, so have the stand mixer ready to go. If you're using the hand mixer, have that plugged in and your whisk attachment inserted so that you're ready to use it. Carefully pour the hot syrup into the mixing bowl, and it helps to make the syrup in a long handled pan just for this purpose, because we are handling a lot of hot liquid here. So start the mixer on the lowest setting, just so that it doesn't splash and splatter the hot syrup all over. It'll splatter less as it thickens, so then you can gradually start increasing the speed of your mixer. And I try to do it every 2 minutes at first. Now this is going to mix for about 20 minutes, and 20 minutes is just an estimate. It could be less time or more. Definitely with a hand mixer, expect to spend longer than 20 minutes. I'm talking about 40 minutes using the hand mixer to make the marshmallow. But listen, don't focus on time, just focus on the consistency and the texture that we're going to get. And I'm going to show you exactly when to stop mixing. So even if you're using a hand mixer, just don't be discouraged. The best marshmallows were made with the hand mixer back in the old days. So now you can see how the mixture has become like a thick foam, and it'll be about 3 times the quantity by the time we are done. Now when it starts to look like this, white and foamy, you could increase the mixer speed to the highest setting because now it's thick and it's not going to splatter. It has also cooled significantly, so it's safe to now go to the highest setting. You can see the changes that are taking place. We went from a clear liquid to this white foamy substance. Now that schools are closed and the kids are home, you can actually get them involved in making this. Of course, not mess around with the hot liquid, but at least observe the changes that are taking place and make it a science lesson. You could learn so much science in the kitchen, and not everything is learned from textbooks and in the classroom. So cooking is one way that they can learn about chemical reactions, and this is what you see. So it's pretty interesting. There are ways we can visually tell when the marshmallow mixture is ready, and we don't need a candy thermometer for that. The old-fashioned way is to observe. Watch how it's dripping from the whisk. The mixture is pretty thin still, although it looks foamy in the bowl. So this is not ready yet. Let's keep going, and you could keep whisking on high speed. You can stop the machine at any time to check how you're doing. Just get back to whisking pretty quickly though. Don't leave the mixture just lying around without mixing, because it will solidify and all the bubbles that have created the foam so far will start to pop. So then you'll have a flat marshmallow. It's been 3 minutes since I last checked. You can see how thick it has become, and it's starting to become more foamy. It's a good time to add the flavoring, so let's do that. I'm using vanilla. You can use any flavor that you like, but if you're using vanilla, my tip for you is to add a little extra to bring out the vanilla flavor when the marshmallows are made. So when you're biting into it, you actually taste the vanilla. Moving forward, when it starts to look like this, it will not take long for the mixture to be ready. It's becoming more light and airy and increasing in quantity, stiffer too. So we're on the right track here. While this is whisking, it's also expanding. So if you want to add any color, do it now. And you might have to add a little extra color if you want a darker shade, because once it's fully whisked, it's going to become a shade or two lighter. I like the look of pink marshmallows, so I'm using a few drops of my red food color gel. But this is not a very strong color, so I have to add a few extra drops. You can stop the mixer and put the food color and then run the mixer again, but I like to do it this way so that I can watch how the color changes. I kind of enjoy that. Once you've made these marshmallows and cut them into pieces and coated them in the powdered sugar or the cornstarch, remember to put them in an airtight container. I just wanted to mention that at this point because I remembered it. Let's check the consistency again in about a minute. It should drip off the whisk in a thick, fluffy and continuous stream. And if it's not quite there yet, we'll just keep whisking. But I know from the look of it that we're almost at the end stages. So we need to just keep an eye and keep checking more often. Look at that, it's still too thin and it's dripping too fast. So we know that it needs more whisking. And this is one of the most common mistakes we make when we're making marshmallow. Another mistake is that we make it on a humid day, and humidity can interfere with the marshmallow setting and drying, and it will leave it sticky instead. So try to pick a day when the weather is nice and dry. If it's a blue sky, you know that it's not humid. It's a good day to make marshmallows. This is easy and quick to make, but it needs precision, so pay attention to the little details. If this is whisked for too long, it will start to set in the bowl. You won't even be able to turn it out onto your tray. And by too long, I mean even 20 seconds longer than necessary can be too far gone. So be very careful how you move forward. And if it is over whipped or under whipped, it can't be reversed when it's set. So you have to be careful. There is structure to the mixture now. It's dripping in a narrow stream, but it's not continuous. The stream stops and then it starts to drip, and that tells me that we're not at the right point yet. Also, the stream should be fatter and thicker and fluffier looking. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna keep mixing and whisking, and let's see how we do. From this point onwards, check every 30 seconds. So I'm trying to show you how this progresses so that it will clear any doubts when you're trying to make this on your own. You know what to expect and you know how it will look like in different stages. And this is the moment of truth. And you can see thick, mousse-like, glossy, continuous, fluffy stream and fluffy everything. And I am so happy to show this to you because we've been working so hard all this time, being patient and watching how the progression is. If you're in a hurry to cut this, it'll set faster if it's kept in the fridge for about 30 minutes. But it'll still be moist. So once you bring it out of the fridge and cut it, you'd still have to leave it at room temperature for maybe about 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours, until it completely sets and dries up on the inside. After spreading it out evenly and all the way to the corners, drop the tray about 2 or 3 times to make sure that there are no air pockets underneath. I stuck this in the fridge for about 30 minutes, then I took it out, left it at room temperature for another 30 minutes, and now I'm ready to cut this. It's going to be a little bit sticky, so I've sprinkled some cornstarch like this. And you could also do 50-50, a combination of powdered sugar and corn flour or cornstarch. They're the same thing. So spread the cornstarch along the edges as well and pull the marshmallow away from the pan so that the cornstarch can get in between. And then it'll just come off very easily when you're turning it over. Now this is going to be a little messy, but nothing that a sponge and some water can't fix. Now we can remove the wax paper. Have more starch in the tray on hand because you'll need lots of it. And if you don't want to do wax paper, foil or parchment also works. I've worked with both of them and it's equally messy. Doesn't make a difference, so use what you have. Once you have taken off the wax paper, apply lots of cornstarch on all the sticky surfaces of the marshmallow. And before you start cutting the marshmallow, you need to apply some flour on the knife also, and that way it'll make it easier to cut. All the excess starch is going to dust off, so don't worry about putting too much starch or too little starch. As long as you get that stickiness off, you're good. Apply some cornstarch on the side that was just cut to keep it from sticking, and then dust the knife again with more cornstarch before you cut another strip. Try to do this with a sharp knife. It really helps to keep the marshmallow from sticking. And like I was saying, although this is set, it really needs more time to dry and get that perfect spongy texture. So that comes only after a couple of hours, so you have to be really patient. Yes, you can eat this now, it's enjoyable, but it's not that spongy yet, and you would feel like it's a little bit moist as well. So once all that dries up, the marshmallow will be perfect. You can see how easy it is to cut this now. I like to cut these into 1-inch pieces because that's such a fun size. You can pop one in the mouth or just take 2 bites of it and one is gone. And they also make about 60 pieces if you cut them into 1-inch cubes. And I just wanted to show you a close-up of the center so that you could see the structure and the texture of these marshmallows. And that's how we make marshmallows the old-fashioned way. And these are so popular in Sri Lanka, especially when they have these aurudu platters or Christmas platters that you share with neighbors and friends. This was a very popular part of it, and always at a birthday party it used to be served, some homemade marshmallows. So get used to making these. It's a cheap but such a satisfying treat, and everyone loves a marshmallow, right? Every now and then. It's much better than the store-bought ones. You just cannot compare it. So try it out, let me know how it goes, and if you have questions or comments, feel free to share on Facebook or below this video. I'm also on Instagram and Pinterest. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to Aasai Rasai.